6 reasons people leave the one they love. We often imagine that people end relationships because love has died. Because they've fallen out of affection, lost attraction, or grown apart. But in truth, many people walk away not because love is gone, but because love has become too painful to sustain. The emotional complexity of love. The tragedy of modern relationships is not that people stop loving each other, but that they often cannot handle the emotional complexity that love demands. Here are 6 deep psychological reasons why people leave even those they truly love. They don't know how to defend themselves emotionally. In the age of social media, we're constantly exposed to criticism, both overt and subtle. When attacked, most of us are told to ignore it, to shrug it off. But the truth is, some people cannot. When someone's inner world is built on self-doubt and internalized shame, even mild disapproval can feel like annihilation. The same dynamic plays out in love. When criticized or misunderstood by a partner, some people collapse internally instead of calmly defending themselves. They don't push back not because they agree, but because they subconsciously believe the attack. To defend oneself in love, one must first be on one's own side. And for many of us, that's not a given. They carry an inner enemy. For some individuals, the real conflict in a relationship isn't between them and their partner, it's between them and their own inner critic. Deep down, their psyche whispers, "You are wrong. You are shameful. You don't deserve to be loved." When this belief is active, even healthy relationships become unbearable. Every disagreement feels like confirmation of worthlessness. Every moment of distance feels like proof of being unlovable. In such people, the external enemy, a critical partner, a disagreement, a rejection, fuses with the internal enemy, that lifelong voice of self-hatred, until the pain becomes intolerable. Leaving the relationship then becomes a way not to escape the partner, but to escape the unbearable echo of that inner war. They mistake self-hatred for clarity. When self-loathing has lived inside someone for years, it begins to feel like truth. If a partner accuses them of being too sensitive, not enough, or difficult, they don't argue, they agree. They confuse emotional abuse for realism. In such cases, love becomes a mirror that reflects all the parts of the self one cannot bear to see. The beloved's affection feels confusing, even suspicious. If they really knew me, they wouldn't love me. Over time, the dissonance between being loved and feeling unworthy of love becomes unbearable. And so they leave, not because they don't care, but because being cared for feels impossible to believe. They were never properly loved before. Behind many adult heartbreaks lies a childhood where love was conditional, inconsistent, or absent. When a child grows up hearing, explicitly or implicitly, that they're too much, not enough, or a burden, that message becomes the foundation of their self-perception. As adults, these individuals speak to themselves in the language they once heard from caregivers, a language of guilt, shame, and rejection. And just as one cannot learn French by being told to just speak it, one cannot simply learn self-love by being told to like yourself more. It takes time, care, and emotional retraining to speak a new inner language, one of compassion and self-worth. Without that transformation, love from others will always feel alien, unbelievable, or threatening, leading people to withdraw from even the healthiest relationships. They don't know how to receive kindness. One of the cruelest paradoxes of self-hatred is that the more we despise ourselves, the harder it becomes to accept love. When others show care, we push them away, suspicious of their motives, or convinced they're naive. This is why the people most in need of tenderness often reject it first. They accuse kind partners of being too good, or feel anxious when love doesn't come with criticism or rejection. They long for intimacy, yet cannot emotionally digest it. In these moments, leaving the person they love feels like self-protection. A way to escape the terrifying vulnerability of being seen, accepted, and cared for. They haven't learned the language of love. Emotional fluency is not innate, it's learned. Just as we absorb language by listening to those around us in early childhood, we also learn how to feel through emotional communication. If we grew up surrounded by words of hostility, shame, or cold indifference, we will later speak to ourselves, and to others, in the same tone. That is why telling someone who is full of self-hatred to just love yourself is as futile as telling an English speaker to just start speaking Bulgarian. Healing requires patience, repetition, and compassion. It's a lifelong process of replacing the inner voice of hate with one of warmth. Those who never learn this new emotional language will eventually leave even the most loving partner, not because they don't want love, but because they can't understand it when it's spoken to them. The real work. Learning to stay. At its deepest level, this isn't a story about romance. It's a story about self-reconciliation. To stay in love, one must first make peace with oneself. One must replace the inner voice that says, "You are worthless," with one that says, "You are imperfect, but deserving." Love doesn't only require chemistry or compatibility, it requires psychological safety within oneself. Until we build that, even the most beautiful relationships will feel like threats rather than gifts. The path to healing and love. The ultimate goal of healing is to be able to remain in love, not by chance, but by emotional maturity. And perhaps the most radical act of love we can begin today is simply this: to speak a few kind words to the parts of ourselves that still believe we are unworthy of being loved. Remember, to stay in love, one must first make peace with oneself. Psychological safety within oneself is the foundation upon which all lasting relationships are built.